So today is the day of the collective, and we are going to look a little bit into the collective. Of course, we talked about our own process, pathways of the heart, the opening of the heart more into, or connecting, reconnecting with the heart in a more deep way, beyond all the contractions which are there. And it's important to understand that every contraction we have, even if it's in our left toe, left big toe, it is also represented in the heart. It's represented in the heart because the heart in itself is an organ of sensitivity of feeling. It's where we kind of experience things, feel things. And when we look at a contraction always has to do with a experience. Something we say, okay, I don't want to feel this. I'm not able to contain this feeling right now. So I kind of, contract it. And then, of course, when we look, we have different possibilities there. We can repress or we can suppress. And it's very important that we're able to repress, and it's very important that we're able to suppress. So repression is basically means not right now. And that means that you come back to it later. And to suppress something is not ever.
Not ever.
Not ever. It's not allowed. It's not ever this. I never want to experience this. It doesn't fit in my life. And of course, when we look to this, so part of why we suppress is on the sometimes because things are too overwhelming. It's too much. Often because we have a feeling that it doesn't fit in the self-image we have as how we are part of the collective. There's no way I can live with my friends, with my environment, with this experience. So we divide. We make a division. And this experience is not really part of who I am in this world. And then if the experience still is moving forward, we try to get rid of it. We don't want to feel it. We don't want to remember it even. We don't want to know about it. It doesn't exist. And of course, this is the deepest form of suppression. It never happened. And so the strange things, when you look into it, is that even if we decide that it never happened, at a certain moment it comes back. And then we have to redecide it never happened. And if we work with things which never happened, sometimes it's early childhood, something we totally banned out because it's too complex, too difficult. And I just give an example, a real life example. There is this girl and her uncle, which is very much appreciated by her parents and is financially supporting her parents, abused her. There is no way she can share that. There is no way she can share that in the family. So she's totally alone with it. And of course, to be totally alone with it is unbearable. So we tend to act as if it never happened. And by acting enough, if it never happened, we start to forget it. We kind of really can also erase it from our mind by saying, block the memory of it. By not going there. Act as if it is not like that, and then kind of, it's a really, we create a rupture inside our own psyche. It's too complex, too difficult. And so it never happened. And the girl is growing up, and at a certain moment, She has 3 children and is married. And slowly what we see in the marriage is that things are coming forward which are connected with what she went through. Sometimes in dreams, sometimes in a sudden dislike which is there towards her partner, or a difficulty with her children coming to an age where they kind of have sexual experience, or fears which are totally not understandable, doesn't fit. You know, a fear that all the doors have to be locked. Otherwise, you're not safe. Or a fear when you hear footsteps that there is immediately a panic. So when somebody is on the stairs, there is a panic. Where is this panic coming from? Why would you be in a panic when your son is on the stairs when he comes late home from a party? Things like this, fears, and that's how basically it starts to escape, where it wants to integrate, because we split off, and there is this tendency to be whole. The healing movement is to be whole. So things start to come up. And in things coming up, we start to investigate. What is this? So we go to a therapist. I've got crazy fear. Could you give me a tablet for it so that I don't need to feel the fear anymore? And sometimes we take a tablet, but then, when it feels like our fears like this, medication doesn't really help that good. It kind of, it could even work opposite. There's a few things we shouldn't medicate. That is grief, and that is deep trauma. It doesn't really medicate very well. The effects of it we could medicate, but the trauma itself will find a way. And that means that we need more medication and more medication and more medication and more medication. So we get more and more through life, as we see with a lot of people through life, more and more heavy medicated. And then the medication itself gives its own symptoms. It's important to understand, if we don't want to feel something, we numb ourselves. We numb ourselves in a whole area. And the more we get numbed, and medication numbs more, the more we get numbed, the more we, at a certain moment, move into depression. If we get numbed too much, we don't feel anything anymore. And if we don't feel anything anymore, nothing makes sense anymore. Because, life makes sense because of the experience it gives. And the experience is moving through feeling. It's not moving through the mind. It's moving through feeling. If we cannot feel love anymore, if we cannot feel care anymore, if we cannot feel the ocean anymore, the ocean is just, water. There is not the experience of the ocean, the experience of nature, the experience of your husband's care or love. If this is not there anymore, there is a distance, there is not a connection, there is a solitude, there is isolation, life becomes senseless. Why have a family? We have a family because the connections, the love which is there, the togetherness which is there. If you don't feel this anymore, why would you have a family? Why would you worry? It's a horrible state to be in. So every block we have, every contraction we create, has an influence on how we are able to experience the depths of experience and feeling. I'm circling back a little bit to the start of the talk. So we go back to this girl who kind of totally forget it. And then she goes to a psychologist and tells a little bit about strange dreams she has, about what's happening, her fears. And somebody's listening and taking it serious. And somebody is telling her, listen, you know, this fear is not normal. You're right. It's coming. It has a root. It's coming from something.
You made it.
It's coming from somewhere, this fear. So what could it be? Where is it coming from? And just by giving it space, okay, you know, try to feel the fear and try to feel the background of the fear. We open up the pathways towards the heart again. We open up something through feeling, through experiencing, little bit by little bit by little bit. And then the memory comes back, or a fragment of the memory is coming back. And this is a difficult period because a fragment of the memory is coming back, or the memory is partly coming back, or some things are coming back. And then the mind, who decided that it never happened, will doubt it. It will say, no, this is a fantasy. This is not real. It doesn't feel real. But the feeling is blocked. And a fragment of the memory is coming back, but the feeling is still blocked. So it is an idea. It's not true. And the only way to kind of move back to the feeling is to start to trust this little fragment. Okay, so tell me, as a therapist, what did you see? Okay, what did you feel then? And that's very difficult because, you know, the mind tries to escape and go back to seeing things. More and more information of seeing, which is not connected at all to the fragment. And not feeling, because the feeling is blocked. So this takes time and space to really kind of move, especially if it's in early childhood, to slowly move towards the integration in which, at a certain moment, you know, the split which is there in a person to make it whole. And why is it important to make a person whole? Why is it important for us to become whole? Because as long as we are in a split, we are in a state of survival. We are not really centered inside ourselves. Centered inside ourselves. There is a cut in our life. We have a certain way we live and how we are, and then something happened and there is a cut, and sometimes there is a lot of cuts. And there is a cut, and how you experienced life before and how you experienced life after is different. We lost something. We lost connection. We feel more isolated. There is more fear. Life is harder. It's more difficult to really trust yourself in connection with another. It's difficult to trust life enough to just live. We become fragmented. And it becomes very difficult to be in the here and now. At moments we can be in the here and now. But when a trigger is happening, we lose it. We go straight into a tunnel. Then when we are in a tunnel, so often what we see is that we either become self-destructive or we could become destructive towards others. Yeah.
Is it necessary really to integrate every fragmentation that took place in us?
No.
Become whole?
It is necessary to integrate those fragments which have the biggest influence, to say it like this, on our ability to be here now.
Yes.
This is the work, and there is a lot of little fragmentations, and now we kind of come to other fragmentations which also have an influence. So that's partly, what we call the family. We have, of course, the personal trauma, but we have also epigenetic trauma, which moves to family. So some of that we have to maybe also move through, but not everything. And then we have the collective trauma. And some of that we also have to kind of work through, but not all of it. There is, as long as we live, there is always work. But what is important is to find the pathway to one or two contractions, so you know the pathway. And to find the pathway back, what is very important if we look to non-dual therapy, and now we come really to non-dual therapy, that we see that these contractions are there are between our true nature and the personality and the ego. They're really deep. They're spiritual contractions in the depth of it. They're on a non-dual quality. A non-dual quality is part of our spirit, is part of the depth of ourselves. Love is part of our spirit. If we have a contraction on love and we cannot open our heart anymore, as an example, it's a spiritual conflict. If we cannot come to peace anymore because we lost all trust in peace, we don't go there. We cannot relax, we cannot come to peace anymore, because if we come to peace, a horrible thing will happen, because we blame the horrible thing what happened on peace. It's better to stay in conflict. To be alert and to stay in conflict, to stay angry, to stay kind of fighting. Fight every moment of your life.
So if you connect with the purity of who you are in the actual self, isn't there a possibility of a spontaneous clearing?
Exactly. That's what I'm coming to. Oh. So the question is, if you come to the being more kind of connected and in the depth centered in your true nature, is there not a spontaneous clearing? Yes, that's why I said there's one or two things you need to move through, because when we move to the depth of a trauma or an inner conflict or whatever, we at a certain moment find that there is a contraction on a non-dual quality. And when this non-dual quality becomes alive in itself again, we are in the moment, in the here and now. And it gives a kind of feeling of being fully alive. And then often what happens, we lose it again because we get interacted with another kind of contraction. It's coming forward. But after we move through this a few times, we start to recognize our true nature. And we find trust back in the true nature. We start to trust the true nature because we lost trust in it. And we lost trust in it in a very deep way. And this is collective. We now move to the collective contractions to start with. So one of the collective contractions, sadly enough, is I am not okay. I'm not okay. The feeling that you're not okay.
As I am.
As you are. You're not okay as you are. And of course, we're fighting this. We really do our best to come into a feeling that we are okay. To come to a feeling that, and to present ourselves as more okay, and it would be even better, a little bit more as okay. I'm better. Because if you're better, you understand, you're safe.
We can also move the fan if necessary.
Oh.
She goes.
Yeah. So another one is this deep illusion that we have to work very hard to deserve the right to exist. Like we don't exist. It's like we have to work to have the right to exist. This is also, when you think about it, a crazy drive, which is collective. That's connected with I'm not okay. Because, we are not okay as we exist right now. We have to work very hard to deserve the right to exist. That everybody says, okay, you are allowed to exist here. We have to be a good citizen. We have to do a lot for others. Or we have to have enough money. Or we don't give a shit about the world and about ourselves, and we steal existence. We just are here, and the rest of the world is here to serve us. That's also an attitude, but all is based on this conflict. I go to some possibilities. There's endless forms in which we deal with this. Endless craziness. And of course, then there is the collective of belonging. It starts already in our family. We're growing up in a family. And how many of us don't kind of think at a certain moment in our childhood, I think that this is not really my family. I don't really belong in this family. Probably they adopted me. And then some of us start to dream that one day your real parents, the prince and princess of Monaco or something, they will. Not in your case.
Liechtenstein.
Liechtenstein, yes. Liechtenstein, yeah. They will come and get you, and they...
Ilala.
Yes.
German? No, Liechtenstein is a tiny, tiny, tiny little country, which is
very, very rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it the residence of Dracula?
No, that's somewhere else again. Yeah. That's Romania. That's Romania. That's more remote Romania. Yeah, Romania. Anyhow, I make a little bit of joke of it, but it's quite serious. This feeling, and which is collective, that we don't really belong in our family, that we feel very lonely, isolated, not understood, not seen. I'm different. I'm different. I'm different because, whatever reason, we don't feel that we really belong. And the crazy thing is that not only you feel it, but also your siblings, your brothers and sisters feel it. And your parents feel it as well. How many of our parents really feel that they belong in Israel? If you talk about Israel, or in the Netherlands, or in England. We all have to struggle to survive. And again, that leads back to the okayness. So, and if we don't belong, that means that we're very sensitive to rejection and acceptance. So, what is needed to be an acceptable Israeli?
Nothing. They accept all of us.
Go to the army, of course. You have to go to the army.
So, who is the they?
Who is the what?
The they.
Who is the they?
Yes.
They.
Yeah.
They accept.
They accept.
Who is the they? Got it. Who is the they? Isn't that the question?
Gina is gone.
We're talking about they and belonging.
Can I go back a minute?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask about the fragments. If it's important to have them all, or what's important there to have?
Yeah. What's important there to have is a pathway. That's partly why this course is called Pathways of the Heart. It's a pathway back that you know you can go back to center again and again to reconnect with center. And there is a reason that we lost the connection a little bit with this true nature. And in certain situations, maybe you are in connection with true nature in a lot of the time, but in certain situations you lose the connection and you lose yourself. So to understand that you can go back to true nature, that you can trust true nature, to start to experience true nature. If you experience true nature, this your essence, or whatever we call it, the soul, or whatever we call it, the moment we are connected with it, there is eternity is opening up. That means that whatever is there cannot be harmed. Our love can be rejected. It cannot be received. It can be misunderstood. But if you are in true nature, then the love is just a love. It doesn't define us. Whatever is brought outward, from outwards back, is reflected back, doesn't define us. You understand, this is the way back into true nature. There is an incredible freedom there. If somebody needs to reject, somebody needs to reject. It doesn't define you. What is defining you is where you are coming from, your motivation. And then it's a choice. There is freedom in it. You know, you can be cruel, so you are cruel. So if somebody says you are cruel, you say, yes, that was very cruel of me. You understand? It doesn't define you. It is something which can be expressed, but what you express is not what you are. What you think is not what you are. You know, sometimes we are in a panic in our thoughts because we think something negative or something which is really, really forbidden. You know, there's many guys who have this kind of fear to be a pedophile. And when there is a thought about children which is not right, there is a panic. There's an incredible panic there. And a horrible fear. So you're not what you think, it's just a thought. Every feeling is possible. Every feeling is just a feeling. It's not what you need to manifest. When we are in a fight with a feeling, we need to manifest it as a release. If I totally allow myself to be angry with Shmulik, you know, okay, I'm irritated, I'm angry with Shmulik. So do I need to express it to him? No, if I can totally accept my own anger, I don't need to express it. I've got the freedom how to express it, how to put a border, because I'm angry because he pushed me over a border. I can be very quiet and just say, listen, you pushed me over a border and that's very unpleasant. I don't like that. Please don't do it anymore. You put a border. It's the most simple way to express anger. But if I'm not allowed to be angry, and there is a conflict with my anger, then Shmulik pushed me over a border. He made me so pissed off. And it's because of him that I'm pissed off. So I need to do something about it. You see the total difference there? It's the conflict which brings us into trouble.
And you have a question, Bart?
One moment, there is a question here. First here, one moment.
Or a thought, so if we're not allowed to express it, then we manifest it?
No, then we get into trouble. I didn't say that you
Not
manifest
express
it.
it, feel it. It is not allowed to be there.
Is it not allowed to be? Both.
Okay.
They're very close together.
But how do you manifest pedophilia thoughts? No. Wait a second, please. You just said that if I understand that if we're not allowed, we're going to manifest it, to express it, to release it, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you just say it again, please?
Okay. The chance, I was very precise in how I said it, the chance that you will express or something which is you're in conflict with is much higher, that we need to express it, to release the stress which is built up by the conflict. So is much higher, that we lose ourselves in this is much higher as when there is no conflict. Because then it's just a feeling, it's just a thought. So if we are in our essence more, in our true nature, we don't need to express it. There is no entanglement. The entanglement is there when there is a conflict.
It's not allowed to be.
It's not allowed to express. It's not allowed to be there. We don't want to feel this.
The conflict arises really from not being connected to our true nature.
Exactly. The conflict is arising. We not really kind of being connected into nature. We lost the connection with our true nature. We identify with anger. So if you feel anger, you are anger. And you don't want to be anger. Instead of, it's just a feeling, it's just an emotion. It's just a thought. We also have the tendency to manifest thoughts. What we think is what we identify with. Thought and feelings and emotions are very close together. They kind of have this deep correlation. You know, if we are irritated, it has immediately an influence on our thoughts. Then we identify with our thoughts. In a way, you know, you're irritated by Shmulik again. Poor Shmulik. So we're irritated by Shmulik. And then our thoughts go in a way, okay, I will teach Shmulik a lesson. There is negative thoughts. The world would be better off without Shmuliks. So that's thoughts. And we identify with it. And especially when we move into the collective, so, you know, you go to a friend and you say, Shmulik did this and this and this and this. Don't you think that the world would be better off without Shmulik? So I'm just, and we just kind of, you know, give one a story which is horrible about what Shmulik did. And the friend says, yes, the world is better off like Shmulik's. So we start to move into the collective with it. And this is what we do a lot. And we identify it. We identify it as the truth. It's just a construct of thoughts, nothing else. Logic, why it is like that. We could tell the story completely opposite and believe it, why it is like that. It's just a story. It's just a representation of some facts in a way which is building up to an emotion we are in conflict with. And this can be the collective emotion of injustice. You know, it's very big injustice when somebody who is weak is the victim. When somebody who is strong is the victim, then, you know, it's totally different. And this is all kind of, you know, connected with our own process, with our own pains. And so we have the tendency to project these pains into the collective. And this is called news, demonstrations, and things like this. The news is full with it. It's full with fear. It's full with horror. It's full with things which are shocking. And full with reasons why this is happening to Shmulik. So that we can feel safe. Because if we understand why this is happening to Shmulik and we are in a different position, we are safe. It will not happen to us. But it already happened to us. Because if it didn't already happen to us, we didn't need to go that way. If we are in connection with true nature and trust true nature again, we don't need to go there. We really don't need to gossip. We don't need to go into judgments towards other people. We don't need to go there. The only reason that we go there as human beings and in the collective is because we feel unsafe. And we feel unsafe because somewhere we don't belong. So if we have a group of people, we can point at, you don't belong, or you are bad, you are not okay. These are the feelings which are inside us in the depth. Then at least we are on the right side of the line. You are bad, so I am okay. And it starts already, in primary school, the bullying of children. We find the victim is not okay, he doesn't belong or she doesn't belong, and the rest of us is okay, we belong, we are okay. We are part of the group. And the biggest bullies, when you look to it psychologically, are those who are the deepest wounded in their feelings of belonging and okayness. They really, really need to find somebody to push down to be able to stand up. So that's part of the collective. And so in this, and this makes sometimes inner growth really, really difficult. Because in this, we hold each other in a certain position. It's very difficult when you feel humiliated and there is an outrage going on, and it is in the collective, not to kind of move with the flow. Just to say, okay, this is not for me. I have my own feelings, my own ideas. Not to move with the outrage. Not to move either, what we talked about yesterday, into a perpetrator or into a victim. Just to stay in your own authority. The collective is very, very strong. And the collective is manipulated emotionally and mentally, partly by the news. By what kind of information we get. To create uproar, to create anger, to create a feeling of victimhood. Or maybe a feeling of being perpetrator. But nobody is ever a perpetrator. This is really interesting to look into the history, let's go, of the Second World War. The Germans were incredible victims. It was all the news, everything is about victory and abuse. Abuse from the world towards the Germans. There was abuse in a way before the Second World War, after the First World War. But again, there was some abuse. But if you kind of make this collective as a whole people is a victim in the news, and everybody is a victim of this, and the outrage and the rage and the anger, you push in a certain direction. So we're going to get what we deserve. Exactly. And also in the Second World War, the whole propaganda is based on this outrage. And of course, in the end, who were to blame for the outrage? The Jews.
But the truth is that after the war, it also happened.
Exactly.
The Germans became all bad and everybody else was fine.
Exactly, the same. Exactly. That's not what happened.
And the Jews were the victim.
The Jews were the victim then. Yeah, they were the perpetrator and now they are the victim. You see the whole game which is going on, perpetrator collective. So, do we really want to be a perpetrator or a victim? Do we want to be part of this game? This endless game, because this game is as old as history. Because this is the collective. This is how the collective is moving. This is how governments are moving. This is the role we are taking.
But being collective is finding a common ground. So everyone should be something. That's why we are collective. You understand? Because if there are no collectives, we are just human race. And
Exactly.
And then no one can survive as a group. It's like, I don't know, it's like a basic pathology. Yeah.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes, exactly.
So,
Yeah. So we have tribes, we have families, we have individuals, and all of this are little and bigger collectives. And again, this is the dark side of the collective. There is also a light side of the collective. So when we look into it, all the non-dual qualities we find inside ourselves, we also find represented in the collective. The collective is also the collective of all the essences. You see, everybody has true nature inside himself. So what would happen if you're in connection with true nature and you connect with others also in true nature? Because this is where you're connecting from, not from our woundedness, not from I don't belong, not from our pain, but from the qualities of true nature. And this is happening at the same time. Also, that is there in the collective. There is care. There is love. There is purity. There is truth between people. All of that is there as well. And when we make the collective a little bit bigger, because the collective is also, if you look at the collective of life, is the plant life, the animal life. And then it becomes really interesting. Why does it become interesting? Because plant life and animal life are very pure in their qualities. There is no conflict.
That's true. There is, I mean, I think they are more connected, but I don't know if there is no conflict, that they are very much in the game of survival.
As we are. This is, but there is no conflict on the level of qualities. There is of true nature, of the inner core qualities of true nature. They're expressed, and the development is because there's a pressure from the outside on this expression, and so it's not the pressure from the inside. The inside is just moving. And there's a pressure from the outside, and that is asking for a cooperation or adaptation or whatever is needed. This is this is the same with human beings.
The question I have, I'm struggling with. I mean, is nature is true nature? The nature we know as nature is true nature. And it doesn't, because it seems in a way also to it's cruel. I mean, nature
No.
is very cruel.
Yes.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, it's nature true nature, because when we look at nature, it's cruel. It's not cruel from the perception of nature. It's cruel in what we project into nature. But from the perspective of true nature, maybe there is expressed cruelty here and there, which is very seldom in true nature. But again, this is unconditional. And it's us who place on everything conditions. There is the conflict. The conflict is in the conditions. Dus nature also in expressing its qualities is unconditional. And of course, you know, when a young animal is slaughtered in nature, we say, okay, nature is cruel. It's a young life. But from the perspective of nature itself, there is no cruelty in it. It's factual. It's there. Death is not a punishment. Suffering is part of experience. You understand? There is no fight.
You're talking about that, but I'm talking, let's say, about animal life.
Yeah. A lion who is eating a baby cow.
No, not just that. I mean, the lion can get crazy.
Yeah.
There are.
You're not talking about Israel right now?
I mean, really, literally, animals can go crazy, and they, you know, and then they become, they don't anymore aligned with. They can just attack for no reason, destroy for no reason, kill for no reason, not just to eat.
Yes, exactly. So
it happens in the animal life.
It happens now and then that an animal is losing basically his mind or getting sick, and this is happening.
So I'm just saying it exists. They're not totally. If they were totally in line with their true nature, as we call it, they would not go. They would not get crazy. So they have that also.
That's the belief
separation.
Yeah.
No, that's observation.
I was just asking this question. ChatGPT, and he gave me a wonderful answer. So if you would like to listen, it resonates.
Okay.
So can you sit here to read it?
Oh, okay. So that the Zoom people can hear it?
Yeah, because what's going on?
What was the question to the
Repeat the question.
The question was, I can't find it because I took a photo only of the answer. What's the difference between the cruelty of human being and animals? So in essence, I give you the sikum, the essence. Animal cruelty to other animals is usually instinctive, survival-based, and amoral. Human cruelty to other humans is often deliberate, reflective, and morally significant.
How can we talk about animals being amoral? This is...
Morality is the human concept.
The difference is, he talked about consciousness and empathy, the differences, consciousness and empathy, and a moral weight. So this is the main...
There's good versus evil.
Yeah. So this is the main differences, the consciousness and empathy, that humans have consciousness and the ability, and the moral weight. This is the first one is intentionality. So 3 differences. First is the intentionality. Human to human cruelty is often intentional, whereas animal to animal cruelty is rarely intentional in the same sense. And the second explanation is the consciousness and empathy, whereas humans have a higher capacity for empathy, moral reasoning, and self-awareness, where most animals lack this level of moral awareness. And the third one is the moral weight. And then he says that because of our awareness and ability to choose otherwise, human cruelty carries more moral weight. We expect better of each other. And animal cruelty between animals is generally viewed as natural behavior, even that's what he said, or she, or
it.
Who said that? I didn't get the beginning of what she was reading a question in response. Whose answer was this? That's what I
The
thought.
ChatGPT.
Great.
ChatGPT.
That's
Answering what's the difference
between,
kind of collective.
between human cruelty and cruelty in nature? The thing is about true nature, if I just interject a little bit, if you look into the qualities that move through you, when it's most pure and most spontaneous, it's unconditional. And if there's a condition within we take responsibility for ourselves. If there's a condition that there cannot be kindness or there cannot be true nature, the whole thing cannot be there as long as there is cruelty, we've got a spiritual conflict. This is something we're doing with our beliefs. So nature cannot have true nature because there's cruelty. In fact, you can't have true nature as long as there is cruelty. Nobody
I
can.
personally didn't say that.
No.
But
For example.
I just make an observation
Mhm.
that because, and I think that my experience, if I take it, my dog that I lived with very closely,
Yes.
seems to be neurotic at times. Seem to have inner conflicts. He was also in separation. I did a lot of healing with him. To actually also carries the same fragmentation. It's not that they are more simple in some ways, more instinctually connected, but they're not, they're made from the same fabric like us. And they
Absolutely.
have the experience of separation.
Yeah.
From actually being in a body. They are in a body. They have the experience of separation, and it's so in some ways, yes, they have a lot to teach us. We have a lot to teach them. It's not. They're not, in my view, the purity of nature. There is a purity of true nature, what we call it. But it's not. They have more. In some ways, they have more in touch with it. We have an ability to entangle much higher than they do, but they also have this mechanism that are creating entanglements and an experience of separation.
Yes, there is a difference. I think I don't want to go too deeply into the discussion, but there is a difference between domestic animals, which are very much influenced by us, because we have an incredible difficulty to move with the real true nature of an animal. So we need to influence it because we are not so much in connection with our true nature. And for instance, dogs really kind of are there also to support us, but also they follow us in a way. That's how they are built. And we are crazy leaders for dogs because we don't understand what their natural ways are. So we're demanding things which are not natural for them. So they kind of move into structures of conflict because their true nature is moving in one way and we are demanding something else from them. So that is basically the conflict. And yeah.
Anxiety from the dogs. So he's also anxiety and the possible things he needs to guard us. So he wants to be outside. And he can't be with outside because he's barking all night because he's guarding. So we have to, and he's afraid the neighbors. So we have to take him in. It's not his instinct. And then he's in anxiety. It's not supposed to be inside.
That gives a lot of stress.
Tammy gives an example of her dog who, out of his true nature, wants to protect everybody because everybody's stressed and feels under attack. But to go outside and to woof at missiles isn't really helping. And then he gets pulled inside, which is a conflict because he feels he should be outside protecting the boundaries. So that's an example where a domesticated animal gets into trouble in a human world. And then he gets rescue remedy from Bach Remedies, trademark.
But let's kind of move on. So no, I want to move on. I'm sorry. Yeah, later. Because otherwise we get and basically a sidetrack. So let's kind of talk about plant life. Very simply, we leave the animals out of it. Plant life. So partly what I'm saying is that the non-dual qualities which are there are also expressed by plant life, different ways. And that's partly, why, for instance, homeopaths or people who works with herbs kind of work with plant life. Because the quality, each plant has a certain mixture of qualities. So if we have a spiritual conflict with these qualities and we take the plant will boost the expression of these qualities inside ourselves, and this will start a whole healing process. This is basically how homeopathics is working. Homeopathics is working by strengthening what is underneath the conflict, so we are able to release the conflict. This is how phytotherapy is working. You take a certain herb, and this herb is helping to kind of, to strengthen your true nature, to move beyond a conflict. And these qualities, there are both physical, spiritual qualities on all layers, but they're representing certain qualities which are also inside us. So when we look to the collective and we include animals and plant life, the qualities are plenty there. If you look to the quality of peace, so every time when you move into a forest, the quality of peace, the trees are expressing the quality of peace very strongly. It helps us to stay sane. Peace means also the movement beyond our busy mind. If you're in a busy mind and you just go for a walk in between trees for half an hour, your mind comes to rest. You come to a different state of mind. This is what also trees are doing around the world. So if we kill all the trees in the world, what kind of influence would this have on our state of mind? This is something to think about, because they have a function, because they're part of the collective as we are part of the collective, and also the whole collective is as one orgasm or organism.
Also an orgasm.
Also an orgasm.
Clusterfuck.
Both an orgasm and an organism.
Okay, now it's getting interesting. Enough with the chat GBT. Now we're talking.
Focus.
But they're also kind of an orgasm of expression and of life and different forms of incredible beauty, in which each form is carrying in the end, in its own unique way, and each species in its own unique way, the qualities of our essence, the qualities of true nature. They're expressed in many, many, many different ways. And what I tried to say before is that the amount of conflict, I be more precise, the amount of conflict you see, conflict with these qualities of true nature in nature is much less as the amount of conflict we have. And that means that nature, in a way, in learning and reconnecting with these qualities of true nature, can be a very, very strong teacher. So if we blame, and then I will stop talking, and then you can ask your question. If we blame inside ourselves a certain quality for the suffering we went through, because we lost trust in care, because there was neglect. So care doesn't really exist. Or every time when you feel care, the pain of neglect is coming forward. So it's better not to feel care. Because, it looks like somebody is caring for you, but then, the next moment the person is walking away. So we give the other person, that's two things. We give the other person the responsibility for the pain in our care. We cannot trust the other person. And we don't trust care anymore. We cannot allow care anymore. You see, it goes two ways. We isolate from towards the outside and we isolate towards the inside. There's cut both sides if you think about it. Because, if somebody cares for you, but can you really trust it? Because, 2 weeks later, the person is gone and there's even more neglect, more pain, and abandonment. It's too painful because you get abandoned. It looks like somebody is caring, but in the end, he will abandon you. You don't take the risk. You don't take the risk to feel this pain again of abandonment. So you cannot trust care anymore. You cannot trust care outside and you cannot trust care inside. So we blame care. So say that we blame care. So how could we then trust care in nature? You see, we get also disconnected from care in nature in a way. We don't trust it, so it has an influence on how we live in connection with nature. So we don't want any trees around the house because we cannot feel the care of a tree. You understand this? If a tree is growing over your house, it gives some problems, but there's also this kind of, this care and this togetherness we can feel if we have a good relationship with care. Protection. All of that is there as well. But if we lost connection with that, then get out of the way. We cannot trust it. I just give an example. So part of the difficulty we have with nature and to kind of, to integrate more into what we call nature is a reflection of the conflicts we have with our true nature. So in this, we feel also, not only when we talk about the collective as the human collective, also the collective as all life of this living planet, to be part of that is also difficult. So the end of it is the conflicts are giving on different levels very deep experiences of separation. Separation between us and ourselves, separation between us and the fellow man, separation between us and nature.
Can you say can you say it again before the example, the phrase? What gives the separation?
The separation is the conflict we have with our own inner core qualities, with our own true nature.
Okay. You said it differently, and it was much more.
It's recorded.
It's recorded, Iris. You can play back.
Sorry.
It's okay.
There's no way he can remember like that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yair, is your question still there?
We're going to do questions.
I have a question. In this
Can you
course,
wait just 1 second? Oh, no, you're good. Sorry.
in this
You're
course,
good.
we are learning how to connect with non-dual qualities of true nature. But how can we connect directly to true nature beyond these qualities?
Yeah. So if you are going deep into a quality, you come to the unconditional part of the quality, and then you come more deeply into the essence of true nature. And so in true nature, there's different layers as well, but I didn't talk about that yet.
Okay. Will you talk about it?
Not in this course, I think.
Consciousness, just being conscious in the
Conscious,
here and now
yeah.
will bring you everywhere.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
Then something.
Yeah.
Just I am.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
So if I'm in anger and then I'm letting myself feel the anger and to see what's coming through the anger, and what coming is a conflict with care, like nobody sees me, nobody cares about me. So it's a layer closer to the naturalness, and then I'm waiting and waiting for what comes next, and then this non-dual of care is coming, and then if I want to feel it and I don't feel it, I can relate it with nature or doing something that, and then at first the doing or something outside can let me go into the naturalness, but after a while I will feel it. I will be feeling safe in that area of care.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So I will ask another one that I wanted before. You said twice spiritual conflict. Not everything is spiritual conflict.
What is your coordinating?
You can bring back. Can you hear me like that?
Just bring the mic.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, just put it there on the floor. That is not pointed at me because I have a loud voice. You can bring back almost all conflicts to spiritual conflict, because behind it in the depths there is almost always a conflict with one of the qualities of true nature. So you could say everything is a spiritual conflict. But let's take the example of you used of anger. So you're angry because of the lack of care. And the anger is there because it's almost impossible to feel the pain of abandonment, which is the. So it's better to get angry. I deserve care, but then because you are angry, you get rejected. So it's better not to be angry, but you're still angry because it's difficult to feel the pain. So you get angry because you're angry. I shouldn't be so angry all the time. I'm really a horrible person that I'm angry all the time. You see? So then still this is based on the spiritual conflict, but the depth of the spiritual conflict is basically the pain of the abandonment, and in that the conflict is the care itself, that we cannot trust care, because it's never if we are abandoned that there is not care. No care is easy to live with. But what makes it so confusing is that there sometimes seems to be a little bit of care, or sometimes there is some feeling of care, and then at once it's not there anymore. This is why we cannot trust care anymore. And this is much more how it is in real life. There is some love, and then at once the love becomes so conditional, and somebody closes his heart because you don't do exactly what the other person wants. So how could you trust love? You understand? If there is no love at all, okay, there is no love. We can live with this. But this conditions, this playing with care, this playing with love, makes it extremely difficult. And that's why we lose trust. It's better to have no love at all, because that's better, as to have this love which is suddenly turning around into something else, which is too painful to feel. Hatred, for instance. Hatred, for instance. Your mother loves you and everything seems to honky-dory, and then you do something your mother really doesn't agree to, and there comes this coldness and this closeness of heart, and then this kind of, you are not part of, you're not my daughter anymore. I give an extreme example, but this It's better not to feel the love of the mother then anymore. Because it's too painful. You cannot trust it. So you cannot trust love. It goes inside. You cannot trust love. You cannot trust connection when you lose a person. How could you connect to a person? It's too painful. Person could drop that like nothing. How could you trust any connection? You cannot relax in it. Maybe you want connections, and there is connections, but you cannot relax in it. As an example. Okay. I think we leave it like this, if it's okay.
Just one question, very short, very short. Very short question. Yesterday I needed the example for authority in nature, and I couldn't make what authority.
So, what is authority, do you think?
It's knowing, maybe. Know what to do. It's the one that knows what to do, maybe. That's what I figured out yesterday when we needed it. Yeah,
to be the author of your own life. So what does it mean to be the author of your own life?
To be authentic with
to be authentic. That is of course. So is there any example in nature of something which is authentic?
Everything is authentic in the nature, but still, it's, if I say connect to a river, so what?
You have beside your house, because I've seen it, there is this beautiful big tree.
Yes.
Can you feel the authority in that tree?
I feel the peace and tranquility first. It's not the first thing that will bump.
That's not the only quality.
Yeah, but I'm looking, but in authority, I'm looking for the first things that jumps, that you cannot, you see this, and this is authority. This is the question actually, because tree, it's the first thing is peace and tranquility and here. But
so
authority,
the authority of a lion.
That's what I thought, but I thought so.
Again, we start to get very human in how we look at it. Because, if you will go to authority, the power, the being and the authority of a tree is quite strong. And it doesn't make you jump. We jump in front of authority. It makes you want to rest in it. It makes you want to relax in it.
Okay. Okay.
Well, it's different. There's authority.
Because we have our almost collective authority issues. We don't trust authority. Unless we are a baby, but then a baby can totally relax in the authority of the father and the mother.
On trust.
Yes, because but we get fucked up because as humans we sorry for the language, we mess up the authority in each other. That means if I have got authority, I don't kind of recognize your authority, but authority should recognize authority. There should be equality. There should be, you understand, in interdependence. And this is, we are really messed up. So if I've got authority over you, that means that you lose authority. That's bullshit. It's where authority is meeting authority, where real communication starts.
And trees walk the talk.
Exactly. Trees walks the talk.
They don't deceive you.
Yeah.
You can trust them.
We can trust them.
Also tsunami.
Yeah. Also tsunami. That makes you jump. Okay, I'm going to finish. We have a little break, otherwise it gets too long.